Jimmy Kimmel's suspension and return. What happened? The trigger. Comments after Charlie Kirk's death. On September 10, 2025, conservative activist and founder of Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, was assassinated. A few days later, in a monologue on September 15, of Jimmy Kimmel Live, the host criticized how conservative groups, including figures aligned with MAGA, Make America Great Again, were responding to the event. Kimmel suggested that some were trying to downplay or distance themselves from the alleged killer by framing him as anything other than one of them, and said they were working very hard to capitalize on Kirk's death. Immediate response: suspension. The monologue drew backlash from conservative media, politicians, and some broadcast affiliate station owners. ABC, owned by Disney, suspended Jimmy Kimmel Live indefinitely. The wording from ABC/Disney was that the suspension was to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country. They also said some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. Major ABC affiliate station owners like Sinclair Broadcast Group and Nexstar Media Group pulled the show from their stations after the comments. Role of the FCC in government pressure. FCC Chair Brendan Carr, appointed under the Trump administration, publicly criticized Kimmel's remarks. In a podcast, Carr suggested that ABC and its affiliates should take action or face additional work for the FCC ahead, implying possible regulatory or licensing consequences. Critics argued that this could amount to government overreach or intimidation, violating free speech norms. Others defended Carr's comments as legitimate oversight. Carr later denied that the government had directly pressured ABC to suspend Kimmel, saying instead that the issues involved ratings. Free speech backlash. The suspension raised alarm among entertainment industry unions, civil liberties organizations including ACLU, many celebrities, and some political figures spanning both parties. They condemned the move as a dangerous precedent for silencing dissent or criticism by threatening regulation or stations' broadcast licenses. Hundreds of artists, actors, writers signed open letters defending Kimmel and warning about chilling effects on free speech. Reversal: Kimmel's return. On Monday, September 22, Disney/ABC announced that after thoughtful conversations with Jimmy Kimmel, they would reinstate Jimmy Kimmel Live. On Tuesday, September 23. However, not all stations are on board. Sinclair, which had pulled the show earlier, declared it would not air the reinstated show on its ABC-affiliated stations, opting instead for news programming in its timeslot. Discussions with ABC are ongoing. Key issues and implications. Free speech versus corporate and government pressure. One of the central tensions is between the right to express political criticism, even if controversial or upsetting to some, and the pressure broadcasters face from regulators and affiliate station owners. The case raises questions. When does governmental or regulatory pressure cross the line into coercion or indirect censorship? How much does fear of regulatory reprisals influence what entertainers or media outlets are willing to say? Role of media ownership and affiliates. Media conglomerates, station ownership groups, and affiliate networks have substantial influence. For example, Nexstar and Sinclair own many local ABC stations. Their decision to pull Jimmy Kimmel Live had real impact on how broadly the show could air. ABC/Disney's decision was affected both by external pressures, public, political, and regulatory, and internal balancing, public relations, company values, maybe legal concerns. Political polarization and media. The response to Kimmel's monologue and the fallout show how polarized American media and politics are. Criticism from one side, conservatives, was met by strong defense from those who see free speech threatened. Former President Donald Trump welcomed the suspension of Kimmel, calling it great news for America. Broader legal/constitutional stakes. There are debates over whether the FCC chair's threats implicate First Amendment issues. Regulation of speech, especially political speech, is a sensitive area under American constitutional law. Additionally, there are business law intersections. Station licensing, approval of mergers, e.g. Nexstar's pending merger with Tegna, make regulatory bodies like the FCC especially important in industry dynamics. What's still unresolved/watch points. Station-level coverage. Even though Jimmy Kimmel Live returns broadly, some local stations, notably Sinclair, are refusing to carry it. That means that for parts of the U.S., the show may still be inaccessible via ABC. Whether Kimmel will issue an apology or further clarify his remarks remains unclear. Some affiliates demanded apology/donation to Charlie Kirk's family and Turning Point USA before resuming broadcasts. Regulatory consequences and precedents. Whether the FCC or other government entities will take any formal action, or whether future show hosts will self-censor, is still to be seen. Why this matters. This situation is a flashpoint in ongoing debates about freedom of expression and comedy. Comedians often critique politics and public figures, sometimes pushing boundaries. What kinds of limits are acceptable, especially when remarks are seen by many as provocative, insensitive, or political? Media regulation and political influence. The interplay of the FCC, broadcast licensing, and political pressure poses questions about whether media regulators are being used to enforce political conformity or punish dissent. Corporate responsibility and value alignment. Companies like Disney must balance business interests, regulatory risks, shareholder expectations, and public perception. In sensitive political moments, these balancing acts become very visible. Audience rights. Viewers' access to content depends on decisions by networks, station owners, and regulators. When shows are pulled or censored, it has real implications for what perspectives are available in public discourse. Conclusion. Jimmy Kimmel's suspension by ABC/Disney over his critical remarks tied to Charlie Kirk's assassination, and the pushback from regulatory figures, affiliate stations, and public opinion, sparked one of the more intense debates lately about free speech, media responsibility, and the role of government oversight in broadcasting. His return shows that even amid pressure, reversals are possible. However, the episode leaves behind important questions about how free expression is protected or threatened in an era of polarized politics and concentrated media ownership.